Okay, why don't we go ahead and call the meeting to order?
Okay, Dan Leader.
Here.
Scott Gergen.
Here.
Lisa Hedin.
Here.
Kyle Latch.
Here.
Teresa Mose here. Vince O'Brien.
Here.
Russ Rolla.
Here.
Superintendent Collins.
Here.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Do we have- Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Agenda approved. Any opposed? Agenda approved. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the February meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And a motion to approve the, sorry to make you guys wait a little bit. It won't take long. Motion to approve the bills payable.
I'll make the motion to pay the bills. Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bills paid. And now, the good news.
Mr. Sill, they're residing. James, how are you doing?
Good, how are you today?
Tell us a little bit about Hastings Knowledge Bowl.
All right, well, this is our Hastings Knowledge Bowl mini PowerPoint when you see our wonderful students behind you. We are lucky enough, if you want to go to the next one here, I was going to give you a little information in total on the program itself. Now it's not moving at all.
I'll do it from up here.
That's okay, right? I've done this for years, so that's fine. We'll get the visual going here in a second. We have our esteemed group behind you. There we go, that's timing, there we go. Our esteemed group behind you is called Organized Chaos. That is their self-proclaimed name, right? And they are more organized than chaotic because they put this together on their own. They got here and I talked to Marina, Mr. Smollige's daughter there. This is our esteemed group because they made it further than any group has made it in the last 4 or 5 years. They made it to the sub-regions this year, and I'll talk about why that's rather unique, especially for their age here in a second. As you can see with the quick little PowerPoint, for those people who aren't used to necessarily what Knowledge Bowl is, it's an intellectual activity where basically you sit around these green strips, which you'll get a chance to play with or hide from in a minute here, depending on your proclivity for that one. And it's an intellectual exercise where you take every subject you've ever learned or didn't learn and pop culture and everything, you throw it together, and 4 or 5 of your friends, or in this case 6 of our friends here, sit around and you nominate one captain, and they're sort of your spokesperson, if you would. Right? So Organized Chaos. Your captain is?
It's me.
And who are you?
I am Nate Stockman.
You're Nate Stockman, and he's been our captain for pretty much the whole season. Some of the teams decide to rotate captains, but the more effective ones sort of decide on some kind of leadership, and you sort of figure out both personality-wise and how it works within the group. As you can see up here, we have anywhere between 4 and 6 players. Each evening, so your evening I know is just starting, you have a rather long evening in front of you. Each of their evenings would start with a bus ride to usually one of the metro schools. So we usually get there about 3 or 3:30. And then as you can see up here, they have a written round, which is basically a glorified test. So take a 50, 60 question test, right? And they can work on it as a group. And then they turn in their answers. It's on the old Scantrons and stuff like that, just like we would take in a regular test. They throw that through the hopper. The coaches are sitting in a whole other room like we're doing here right now. And we are scanning through hundreds and hundreds of questions to figure out what are the weird permutations that someone can actually answer over the next 2 or 3 hours. Right? That's what we're doing when they're actually hopefully having some fun. Right? Then what happens is they reorganize everybody at the whole meet. So you might have 45 different teams at a meet. This represents one of our 6 Hastings teams. We actually have 6 Hastings teams running this year. And at a typical meet, you'll have 45 different teams. And what you want to do is you want to put like teams with like teams. As an example, let's say a 5', 4" gentleman like myself would not want to play basketball against Mr. Collins in the morning, right? Because I would be at a height disadvantage. Intellectually, what they'll do is they'll take your written round and they'll put you in rooms with people who got roughly the same amount of answers in the written round. And that's the nice thing about it. So you're generally not over your head the whole evening, if you would. You're not always in the deep end. So as you can see up here, there's another 4 oral rounds throughout the night. We're going to practice one little oral round for as much as you guys want to play here in a little bit. And after every one of those oral rounds, they do the very same thing. You'll play about 45 questions for an oral round. They will refigure out the numbers. The kids take about 10-15 minute break. Does that sound about right? 10-15 minute break. And then they'll have a massive screen like this, and everyone will be looking at it to see where everyone figures out, sort of like a March Madness kind of thing, if you would. And you want to be in the highest rooms, and if you're in the highest rooms enough, you get to go to Metro. If you can click the next one. And this is just for you, for those of you who aren't sitting around with the green strips. Anybody on this one?
Iowa.
Iowa. Let's see if it's Iowa. Let's look for the Great Wall of Iowa. There we go, Great Wall of China. So we're going China. All right. So if you can go on to the next one there for a second.
How many people thought of the risk for it?
Yeah, I did. I'm a kid of the risk generation, exactly. So we basically grown the program over the last 5 to 6 years from, it was myself and Mr. Larson a few years ago with basically 8 kids on a bus sometimes, to now we're almost up to a full bus where we have about 30 to 35 for the last 2 or 3 years. The kids generally self-pick their teams depending on both personality and intellect and also subject. So you might be the math science guy and I might be the sports guy or whatever it happens to be. You might have somebody who's more of an alpha male, if you would, or someone who's a little bit more passive. So it sort of works out organically throughout the season as we go forward. And as we said, this is organized chaos. We have lots of different teams. There's 107 in the Metro this year. The top 30 actually make the first round of the playoffs. And what I was especially proud of these guys is, and I know I shared this with you a few times, is this is also one of the youngest teams we've ever had. It's made up of almost all sophomores with the exception of Arthur there, right? Arthur, you are a freshman, right?
Yep.
Right. So we have, obviously the future is bright for this team, especially if they stay together and stay with the program as we go forward. All right, you can't say Iowa this time, but you can say anything else you want to. So the answer is not Iowa. Anybody?
The view from the moon.
There we go. All right, cool. And if you want to. She's ready. We'll hook her up to the buzzers here in a second. And this is sort of the nuts and bolts of our season. Typically, when we just started out, like I was saying, Mr. Larson and I only had 1 or 2 teams. So we would really you pretty much run a practice on a Tuesday and I'd run on a Thursday or Friday. But now as we've gotten bigger, as you can see with the mechanics of this, in essence what will happen is you'll have 3 green strips. You'll have anywhere between 15 and 20 students, and I'll be in my room with that organized chaos, as it were. And then in the hallway will be another 3-ring circus, if you would. Mr. Larson will be doing the same thing. So if you visit, or if you want to visit our pod on a Tuesday or Friday, you will see a lot of trivia questions being thrown around between 30 and 35 students. And that's pretty much it, as it were, for those people down the line.
How does it work, you know, like in sports and tennis?
Sure.
I could challenge Lisa in a challenge match if I think I'm better than her. So let's pretend
Sure.
that I'm one of the other 31 students.
Right.
And I come up to you and I say, I can crush Arthur in math.
Sure. Right.
Good luck to you.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, but yes, okay, yeah.
So I say I can crush Arthur in math.
Right.
Do you let me challenge him, or do you say, now that, as a coach,
Uh-huh.
do you say, well, that would change the dynamics, I think Arthur's good with this team, and I think you'd be a cancer, Tim?
Yes and no, in the sense that we massage it in the sense there are some schools who literally give the kids tests. And they'll give them pre-tests and say, like you said, who's the math wizard, who's the social wizard, whoever it is, and put them together. Right? We tend to look at it more organically in the sense that personalities do matter.
Okay.
And I think if you talk to the kids, and we'll let them speak for themselves here in a second, I think a lot of this is a social endeavor. Don't get me wrong, it's intellectual, it's geeky to the extreme. That's why I love this stuff, or you can see my t-shirt here, and I love it. But having said that, I think what I've noticed over the years, having done it for a decade, is you can't make chemistry.
Okay.
I mean, you can sort of play with it. So in answer to your question, what we would do is, and we've done this with your team as well, because Arthur got adopted by this team this very year, right? And I say that in the nicest way because he was the new one to the high school, right? And they adopted him onto their team. So you have personality matters, you also have age groups that matters. There's a learning curve to this, as you guys might find out here in a few minutes, maybe not. In the sense that, like with any sport or any activity, you sort of get into a rhythm of it. So you say you're gonna challenge him in math, you might be better in math, but you might do math in 18 seconds. And up here, you're gonna have 15 seconds.
Okay,
You know, so there's a lot of little nuances to it,
Okay.
if that helps.
yeah, thank you.
And my co-captain lives far, far away, so he's on his way home at this point, in the sense he's got about a 40-minute drive to Farmington. And Mr. Larson has done it just as long as I have, and he's a wonderful co-captain. Questions? Otherwise, I thought we'd play a little bit if you'd like, and you can sort of get a sense of it. Anything I can answer for you? Like I said, we did have 5 other teams. There are spread amongst all different age groups. We had 2 different senior teams today. So we were going to have the organized chaos over here, was
Yes.
that right? Okay. And then anyone who would like to gang up against organized chaos, as it were, as long as you can match the green strip, you get to buzz in.
Bring my Google,
Yeah.
Oh, Googles and phones and all that kind of stuff. You have 15 seconds. You can't find it that fast, right? But- So all you need to do is press firmly onto the buzzer itself.
You know the answer.
Usually when my other students try to do it, they want to slap it. You don't need to slap it. You just press it. How long did you want
We'll
to?
say
No,
hello.
I don't.
No. All right.
So
Did you want to challenge Arthur for his spot?
I'll wait to see the competition and let you know.
All right, fair enough, right. So the way it's going to work, first off, I appreciate your decorum and your diplomacy, but you really want to, there's a book called Lean In.
Okay.
You want to lean in, right, as they're doing, right? So what's gonna happen as soon as I read the question, clearly, teammate, that's cool. Whenever you want to buzz in, as soon as I say the word "the" in the question, it's a live question, right?
But you don't finish reading it.
I don't finish reading. I stop reading as soon as you buzz in. So if you want to hear the whole question, they might not want to hear the whole question. So part of the strategy, quite frankly, is can you anticipate where the heck this question's going and where is it going to end up? So we know Nate's our captain over here, okay? Do we have a captain over here, or do you guys want to talk about it for a second?
Yeah,
Lisa's our captain, all right, okay. I would be remiss if I didn't have everybody else introduce themselves. So we know Arthur already, we know our captain Nate,
I'm Rose Smolich. Cameron Hausler.
Levi O'Toole,
Leandra Larson.
and that is Organized Chaos. All right, are we ready? All right, so question one, and with our nice little glorified calculator here, it'll let me know who buzzed in first, and then there's just a 15-second countdown. So once you buzz in, you'll feed your answer to your captain, right? And then we're ready to roll. All right, question one. In the 4th century, Emperor Constantine issued an edict outlawing the persecution of Christians. That edict was named for what city of northern Italy? Team C, which is Organized Chaos. Now, part of the strategy is they're being quiet because they don't want you to cherry pick their second best answer, because that might be the best answer. So they have a whiteboard here, you're not going to see them say a lot.
Venice.
Venice is incorrect. That means the school board. I will read it again for you if you'd like, because we're going to allow them to hear it, guys.
Yes, we'd
In
like-
competition, you wouldn't hear it again, but we're going to allow them to hear it again. All right. In the 4th century, Emperor Constantine issued an edict outlawing the persecution of Christians. That edict was named for what city of northern Italy? This is where you guys buzz. You do not lose points whatsoever. You can only gain points by getting it right. So any Italian city not named Venice, you might want to try, or maybe not. Or you could throw out Iowa again. Northern Italy. Can't win if you don't play, though.
It's not, we're gonna say Rome, 'cause that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
There's also listen.
Rome is a little bit too south. We're looking for Milan.
Oh, what do you know?
All right, but right now you're tied with Organized Chaos. So, here we go.
Can we stop playing now?
Well, we're tied. All right. Well. Question 6 on this one. We're just trying to mix up some of the subjects. 2 or more geologic periods comprise what unit of geological time? Team C, otherwise known as Organized Chaos.
Era.
An era, 1 point for the Organized Chaos as a word. I don't know, I think you guys would be the home team, we're gonna do away team, I guess, as a word, all right? Question 9, you knew that, you let them have it, all right. This is the gist of an ordinance passed in what state in December of 1860? We the people do declare and ordain that the union of our state and the other states, under the name of the United States of America, is hereby dissolved. Team A.
Is it this year?
Dissolution of the Union. Of the
Incorrect.
Article,
Team C.
the gist.
South Carolina.
See, there's a lot to take in that paragraph. You guys were on the right track, but the heart of it was which state. So you guys were going Confederacy, which made total sense, but they narrowed down to South Carolina, which is what we're going for.
I didn't really heard the question.
And you had the other one right.
Question 11. Australians refer to people of what country as Kiwis? Team C.
New Zealand.
You guys look way too happy about that. Yes, yes. All right. Back to science for my science math guys out there. What remains constant in an isobaric process? Team C.
Pressure.
Pressure. All right, organized chaos. This time count to 3 before you buzz in, okay? It's a mercy. All right. So count to 3 after I, all right.
What's already a mercy rule
Question
here?
17. In the Odyssey, consuming the fruit of what plant caused a pleasant drowsiness? I don't remember if that was 3, but.
Lotus.
Lotus, yes, lotus. All right. Hands off the buzzer. All right.
Oh, his question is really.
The Gulf of Finland is an arm of what sea? Team C.
She totally did my White.
Isn't that further north? Over Russia?
The Baltic.
The Baltic is correct, right?
Haha.
So now, we'll take a look at organized chaos here for a second. Leander, what would you say some of your favorite subjects are?
Social studies?
Social studies, and she's like the geography whiz when we talk about how you sort of put the puzzle together. So you notice they look to math, science, social, all over the place, and they just know at this point, that's our guy or gal in this case. All right, back to science. Coral bleaching. Team A, you were gonna be in first.
Go,
You are.
Dan.
Iowa.
I think that's close enough to algae, because I don't want any shutouts here. I think that's close enough to
Relatively related to
algae.
coral bleaching. That's the only question we have.
Mr. Smollett, you can speak to this, right? What we do at the end of the season, and sometimes in the middle of the season, we'll do is we'll play teachers versus students. Right? And we were whispering to each other earlier, we have a very hard time holding these guys off, right? Because they are literally that quick. And I'm still mocked every once in a while because there was one year we were playing a team and I did exactly what you did. I was gonna get in first, right? And Mr. Jarl Olson, that you guys probably remember, he starts nudging me. He's like, James, cut it out, because I would be buzzing in on these math questions that you'd only hear half of the formula for. Which you can't do, but I was not gonna let the youngsters beat us in. But of course, we didn't get them right, but I was in first. 22. What was the home country of the archaeologist Howard Carter? Team C. Two more, okay.
British.
British is not a country. Man, what was the home country of the archaeologist Howard Carter? You know you want me to play by the rules for you, right? Okay. England, yes, England.
It's not a country.
And we're on
Yes,
2 more.
sort of.
Right. What punctuation mark is required for a non-restrictive appositive? Follow that, Team C.
Oh,
Okay, Nick.
Probably this.
I'd say so. A comma.
A comma, yes, a comma. And our last question, which somehow is now worth 5 points. It is 7-2 currently. All right. Southern Democrats who bolted the National Party in 1948. Team C. We're going to test your history teachers on this one.
Roger Sherman.
Roger Sherman. Mr. Smollett, I'm sure will enjoy that because he loves Roger Sherman, but we're going to Team A. Southern Democrats who bolted the National Party in 1948 in opposition to President Truman's platform on civil rights were known as what kind of crats? So what kind of crats were they called? Fill in the blank.
Yeah, yep.
Southern Democrats,
Dixiecrats.
the Dixiecrats. And depending on how you want to do the math, it is 7-3 or 7-0, however you want to do
I think it
it.
was 7-7. That's totally the way I was at.
Something along those
Nice job,
lines.
you guys.
Thank you for having us, guys.
Thank you. Now, how did you fare in that pizza thing?
In the pizza thing, and the other cable thing, we got very lucky, I'll admit, that we were behind.
Yeah.
And then in Final Jeopardy, we bet it all. And we won a pizza.
All right.
So we won a pizza, right. Yeah. I forgot about that video a few months ago.
It's fun to watch.
So what would happen is, this would be 45 actual questions. And then they take a 10-minute break and do 45, 45, 45. So
Wow.
it gets to be a long evening of thinking on your feet.
And during the school year,
They're on tape, we watch
In the school here, we don't host any. There's 3 places in Metro that everybody goes to because they're more centrally located. Right. So we would go to about 4 or 5 days a year. We haven't hosted any because we're sort of more so. We usually go to like South St. Paul or something like that. I'm gonna say my goodbyes to them and then clean up.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Guys, we really
your
appreciate
time, your dedication, and thank you for your time this evening as well.
Nice job, guys.
Thank you for coming, guys.
Thank you.
See you guys so far.
Do you need me to bring this stuff later?
I figured I would just quietly take it away if as long as
What
I'm
if
not
the
here.
wrong group is leaving the room?
What do you mean?
More competent.
I know, shouldn't they say?
40 years from now, 50 years from now,
Yeah.
hopefully they will help out the community just like you guys are, right? That's the way it works. Cycle of life. kind of
You're
stuff.
very kind against yourself.
That was impressive.
Yeah, it was. You know, she had, the geography expert had the history question perfect. On the first one, they just went in a different
Yeah.
direction. Wow. They're smart kids.
Yeah,
They're a lot of fun to work with.
I loved your risk.
Yeah.
That's
what I was
that is
thinking.
our era. Yeah.
Where's that one?
So
That's
there's
the one
Knowledge Bowl in middle school though too. They have 2 teams at the middle school, and Mr. Erickson coordinates it. They went to 3 meets and they had half a dozen
That's good. 'cause
practices. So,
And I was saying that has really helped out the high school team because of that learning curve is so much shorter now. In the
Mhm.
past, we would have to sell it to freshmen. I mean, now we make them aware of it. And then that first year when they come in, you'd have to teach them the tricks of the trade. But now because what Mr. Erickson's already grown here, it really helps them. I think that's one of the reasons these guys as sophomores are able to be where they're at.
Mhm.
That's terrific.
Yeah, I think knowing the time commitment too that you outlined is letting kids know up front, hey, this isn't gonna take 20 hours a week of your time.
We try to be super flexible
Yeah.
because we know with the athletic side of it, they can't be because of different places. Like you and I were talking offhand here that we only go to about 4 tournaments a year. Whereas say you're gonna be in basketball or something else, you have to be at those things.
Yeah,
So we tell them if you can make it half the practices, we'll call it good, as long as it's good amongst yourselves. That's the other thing. You know,
Yeah.
like if somebody missed a ton of board meetings, you might start looking askew at them and saying, what's up? You know.
yeah.
thank you for your commitment and thank you for your time tonight as
Thank
well.
you.
Very much
Thanks for inviting us,
appreciated.
guys.
Thank you, that was.
The kids were all
that
jazzed
was
about it.
really
They've been
fun.
talking about it all day.
Tell them they really won.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't.
Well, they didn't hit
Oh, I'm sure they will
Yeah.
tell me. Yeah, they will tell me. What were you doing there?
I think you guys were set up and Mr. Sill gave these questions in advance, just so that they could crush you. Good job. Yeah. Ann couldn't be here tonight, she's home ill, so she'll come to the next board meeting. So we're right into the superintendent's report then. And I just wanted, just a few quick, really brief updates, district Facebook page. I don't know, Deanna, if you're gonna pop up and,
Yep, I have it right.
just to give you a
Did you
flavor.
post it already?
I will post it immediately.
I know that some of you are Facebook gurus and some of you are,
Sorry, your
Facebook
board meeting didn't
novice.
reach. Only 35, you didn't reach many people, that's not very popular.
Dang it.
Oh, well,
Well, wait
this
till
one-
you-
This one was pretty, not too bad. Well, I'll just explain a little bit. As the administrator of the page, I see some things that you guys don't see, like where we're reaching. I can also compare our page to other pages. Right now, I'm comparing it. It'll allow me to go in and look at some things comparing us to other like pages. So right now, I'm comparing us to South Wash, because I always like to beat them. If you notice, we're at 157 engagements this week over big South Wash, who only has 70. So we must have much better posts. But it kind of gives you an idea of like what kind of things people are interested in and are looking at your page about, for. The other thing is you can kind of see things that, when it talks about reach, that means that people saw this on their news feed. And so things that are getting a lot of reach means that people are either liking it, like this had 15 likes yesterday, so then it's staying on their feed and their people are seeing it. People that aren't necessarily liking Hastings Public Schools right now are still seeing this stuff, and then that draws them to your page. The choir trip was a big hit. Mr. Warren with a squid on his face, or an octopus, was a big hit. So was this one. The water, I don't know if you guys were aware of this or if you
Yeah.
saw this post, but this one had a lot of reach and a lot of likes. People were really interested in this eco-friendly water fountain at the middle school.
And we actually have 2 of them there now. One's right by the main office, and I believe one's up on the 2nd floor as well, but letting you know how many disposable plastic bottles have been saved, et cetera.
So far, it's been pretty painless. We don't get a lot of comments, which was actually what we kind of saw when we looked at other school districts' Facebook pages. I think one of the concerns initially was that it would be a forum for people to write negative things, and really the most negative thing anyone has written is when I did a Throwback Thursday, they wanted to know who the people were. So, other than that, there really hasn't been anything very controversial at all. So that's Facebook.
And again, I think as with everything, you don't want to over-communicate, you just don't want to throw things just always, but definitely with Facebook, you want to keep it active enough so that people continue to tune into what you are posting, so that when you really do want to post something important district-wide, you can do that. And of course, a lot of people tuned into Lynn Warren with a squid or octopus on his face. They found that important, so. But anyway, I think it also creates a positive feel for the district and for the generation that is using Facebook, which is really the adult generation
Yeah.
right now. It's been a good thing for our district.
That's one of the other things it shows us is our demographic. So right now, the majority of people that have liked our page are between 24 and 48, which is kind of important if we were doing some kind of a question on a ballot, because that's a good way to reach our population that we are always trying to attract.
Well, it's an easy communication tool for them.
Right.
It's accessible.
Vision 2025 review, that was one of the things that Vince kindly put together after, as anyone who's ever tried to do a videotape of themselves or a presentation, you can never get it right the first time, and then the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, and then some technological glitches. But thank you, Vince, for doing that. In a about 5 to 6 minute concise overview of the technology area vision 2025, the academic area vision 2025, and the wellness area vision 2025. And now, as we move forward, Deanna will include that also in a link to our parents, whether it be through e-news or School View. And then also I'll be discussing with Vince and our advisory committee and all of you to have a public meeting here pretty soon in April, where people can come and hear a little bit more about Vision 2025, ask us some questions, and then as always, just a chance to meet with us as a board in small groups and talk about anything else that's going on in the district. I'm looking at like a 45-minute to an hour meeting coming up here, probably right in the first week or two of April. But again, I'll try to connect with all of you on a date, and Deanna will look at the school calendars, so we try to miss a lot of what's going on as well. And
There'll be a newsletter too, shortly.
a newsletter, and again, talking about it, Vision 2025, again at a board meeting, so that people can go to our website, and you can go to our website and just click to certain minutes of what you want to see. So if people want to just come and watch the competition against the Knowledge Bowl, it's all outlined, and they can just go right to that, so they can quickly advance through what they do want to look like. So again, thank you to Vince for taking the extra time to get the word out about Vision 2025. Also, because we're being taped tonight, I just want to update you as a board to talk about the financial status around this. When I get to go to meetings at 917, I'm around other superintendents. When I get to go to the MASA conference about a week ago, I'm around other superintendents. There's a lot of budget reduction going on right now. I've talked about this before. North St. Paul looking to cut approximately $8 million from their budget. At one time, South Wash was at about $8 million for their budget. Burnsville, their superintendent shared the other day that even though they passed a bonding issue, their operational budget is in huge dire straits. Farmington superintendent shared at 917 that because they're very similar to us, their budget goes up, and I've used this with you before as a board, their budget goes up about $1 million every year. Very similar to the number that I've shared with you, that due to inflationary costs, due to rising health insurance costs, that it goes up $1 million. And I think, again, to share with you as a board and to share publicly that all along, we as a district have been right-sizing all along. We've been trying, you as a board have been trying to adjust the positions that we've had. we purposely did build up a fund balance or a savings account so that as we continue to right size, it's not as painful as it is in other districts. And I'd say that we've been very, very successful in doing that. Unfortunately, one of the things that I felt would really come through, and I don't know if it's going to come through yet or not, you know, legislation can take many different walks. We have a surplus. There's been a lot of discussion about what to do with that surplus. There's been the K through 3 feed everybody in the breakfast program. There's been the preschool all day, every day program for 4-year-olds. There's now been talk of adding PE requirements at the high school level. There's lots of other initiatives that are being thrown out there legislatively. And the Farmington Soup made this analogy, and I thought it was a really good one to share. That if his costs are going up $1 million and Hastings' costs are going up $1 million, 1% doesn't come anywhere near covering that $1 million. To the public, it sounds like, well, you're getting an increase. It doesn't come anywhere close to that. And he also said that, think about this, in the state of Minnesota, there's approximately 850,000 students. One of Governor Dayton's proposals was to add $629 million to education. So everything that Governor Dayton said that he wants to do was $629 million. And I didn't do the exact math on this, but I trust him because he does know what he's talking about. He says if you took $629 million and divided it by 850,000 students, you would get about $700 on the formula. So he said, why aren't we getting $700 on the formula? Because 75% of what's being proposed is new initiatives. So his question, and he felt that we should all write to our legislators this question, and I did send this off as an email, that if we as a state are willing to spend $629 million on 850,000 students, put more of it on the formula if possible. We're struggling to keep our class sizes where they should be. We're struggling to meet our increased costs. Right now, we can't really afford to start new initiatives. And so I just wanted to share that with you as board members, because you're out and about, you're bumping into people, and eventually people are gonna say, hey, school district got 1% on the formula from the state of Minnesota, great news. And I want you to be educated on the fact that that does not cover our typical $1 million increase. And I think that in the end, what'll happen, and this is what I'm hoping is happening, and I shared this with some other board members earlier, that Governor Dayton threw out the 4-year-old program just like all-day kindergarten was thrown out 20 years ago, knowing that he believes that's the direction that we need to go. And he's not probably betting that during his term it's going to happen, but he's throwing that out as a drip, that everybody should start thinking that way. And then he's going to say to the Republicans, well, if you don't want to do that, then put that money on the formula. Because I think that will be best used for all of us as well.
Can I,
Yep.
we rejoined C, and C is Schools for Equity in Education. And their number one argument is not for more money on the formula, it's for creating an equitable situation for being able to levy for buildings. And if
Building
we're-
maintenance.
Building maintenance, not new buildings, but existing buildings, building maintenance. Is there some way, for our membership in C to be meaningful, can we take what you just said and somehow or another communicate that to them and to other members of C? Because C is arguing both sides of the coin. And in some ways, it's hurting the argument for more money on the formula. So they had a bunch of us go, and we talked about it at the last meeting, to the legislature to talk about that. And then you sent a separate email to Senator Sieben or Representative McNamara, and that would be in somewhat opposition. So if we're gonna have a meaningful lobbyist group in the Capitol, we need them to understand that.
Yeah, and I'm going to be at a regional C meeting on Friday of this week. And I think what happened was they had a false sense or belief that 2% would go on the formula automatically. And so then let's then let's
And
put,
that's what their lobbyist said, is when we met this summer, or when we met previously, the primary issue was the ability to equitably raise money to maintain buildings. When our member districts saw 1% on the formula, the percent on the formula became the number one issue. So I think that's why both those things got raised during those legislative meetings, was they had developed their legislative lobbying strategy, and then they saw this dramatically different number on the formula, and still needed to talk about it while we were there.
but I am gonna raise that question to them at a regional meeting,
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, good, that's what we.
I know what you were saying, C. We thought we were gonna get 2% for sure, and then we were pushing for all facilities equitable funding. But are we now, as a C member and as a C organization, somewhat panicking and saying, hey, forget this, and just really push for the formula? And that's the question that I'm gonna ask them, because that's a very good point.
Yeah, because if they're still having districts go to the legislature and go around and try to present their platform with their, you know, they made materials pushing their platform, which is theoretically our platform, to go to the legislators with that platform, and now we're saying something else, or the majority of members of C are saying something else, then they have to be wise enough as a lobbying group, taking the money of all the constituents, to know that that's going on.
Well, and that was I mean, again, we had that conversation both with the group of us that went and when we were with legislators, which was, this is shifting. We had anticipated a different base, and now,
But what I'm saying is if they're continuing to put all their efforts and money.
well, but
time-
I didn't feel like they were putting all their efforts into that one item. I do think you're right, that, I mean, I would hope at this point they've moved towards some materials that are to support
Okay.
the dual purpose. But I think they were in that midstream shift when we went.
And I'm gonna
And I'd be
bring,
curious to know what,
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
very curious to see where they're at right now too, because
how they're framing their
Um,
time.
even the last Democratic proposal from the Senate side is 1% or less.
Wow.
And that's the latest, so, and that's why I sent an email to Katie Stephen today.
And I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, and I bet Kim could do the math off the top of her head, but, so, not that I believe we would get $700 on the formula,
No,
but what percent is $700 on
Well,
1% is 50.
Yeah, 1% is
the
around.
formula? Okay, that's what, yeah.
And the other thing, and I think people keep forgetting, is 1% now is not as much as 1% was the last legislative session.
Right, because it was really.
Of the weighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The weighting per student is less now.
yeah, so it would almost be
I know,
like
and I knew,
10%.
well, that's what I thought, it was probably.
Crazy.
I was thinking it was 15 to 20%.
Yeah, well, it would
What I
be.
could think about off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And I just wanted that,
Yeah.
I just wanted that said out loud.
Yes,
To recognize that we're never gonna get $700 per student on the formula. But just so you, it's clear
yeah. So,
how 7 relates to
again,
percent.
and
700 relates to percent.
and we'll wait, we all know that the legislative process is very complicated, and all of a sudden it all comes together at the end. But boy, in a year where there is a lot of surplus there, this was the year where I felt that, I mean, we did our projections on 1.5% of the formula.
Yeah.
So all of our projections were, because that's what we were being
I
told.
thought we'd get 2.
Yeah, we were being told that we got
Yeah,
we'd
I
get
thought
2, so we went with 1.5, so it's.
We don't know.
No, I'm not being Debbie Downer here, but, or Tim Downer. But also, if legislators don't hear from us, so a phone call doesn't hurt from you as a board member to say, this is our reality in Hastings. Summer school the Faribault way, I wanted to share this with you for 2 reasons. When I do go out to an MASA conference, I do want to let you know I go out to breakout sessions, and one of the breakout sessions I went to was how Faribault is approaching summer school. I think in a lot of school districts, there's so many different ways you can design what your summer school program is, how many students come, who's required, do you do transportation. And this past year, when they passed a levy 2 years ago, they went out to the public and they said that if you vote yes for this operating levy, we are going to designate at minimum $150,000 from this levy for summer school every year. And that's quite a bit of chunk of money. And Faribault's a little bit smaller than Hastings as a school district. And I'm going to be tracking them. They've done it for 1 year. This will be their second year, because I want to see what type of results that they believe that they're going to get back from it. But they're changing their summer school to a program where it's from 8 till 3. Students are served breakfast, students are served lunch, and it's almost like a school, a full day of school, and that this year now they have 400 to 500 students that are signed up for their summer school program.
K-12.
Yes, K-12. They would have more, but they started slowly, and their struggle now is finding enough teachers to teach the program.
Staff.
Is it free?
Yes. So
How many weeks?
I think it's 4 days, it's Monday through Thursday, and I want to say it's 5 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Faribault is, I don't know this number exactly, but it's unbelievable. I want to say 65 to 70% on free and reduced. And they saw a huge gap in those students not meeting academic achievement. But I just want to share with you that I find it to be an interesting approach. And when you think of our entire budget, $150,000 in our entire budget isn't a lot of money. And if it does pay back dividends for them, I'm going to be watching that. They've also entered into a very unique partnership because they're close enough. And I guess you could argue that we're close enough to Northfield and St. Olaf and Carleton. They have science students or teachers, or not teachers, but kids who are in biology or chemistry, who they can earn some credits by coming to their summer school and teaching. So they're fortunate that they get 10 to 12 extra set of hands for little to no cost, because Carleton is providing it. But I felt that was a unique partnership as well. So again, we've approached it different ways. You know, part of ours is credit recovery for our high school. Part of it is getting some of our middle school students so that they can enter 9th grade at the appropriate level. And then some of it is in our elementary, specifically bringing up reading and math skills. But again, we do not go all day. And will that pay dividends or not? Time will tell on that. But that is a school district that I want to check back with that 2 years from now. I just want to let you know that
And
as
if
a
you have
board.
that many kids on free and reduced lunch, you have a facility that you can serve free and reduced
Yes.
lunch during the summer.
Yes.
Give them access to it at least.
Yeah, so they have some different dynamics as a school district and a community, but a different approach and an interesting approach. But they're taking the money right from their general fund. And with that, I'm ready for the action items, if you are.
Okay, everything that usually comes up in a meeting here goes through a committee process first. Tim and Scott, you guys served on the self-funded health insurance committee, and we talked about it, and we've done a tremendous amount of work to get to this point. But the first action item is a motion to increase the premium by 6% for the upcoming school year. Do you have anyone that wants to make the motion?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
You guys want to explain it?
Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, the 6% increase puts us, we have a predicted fund balance for healthcare, for the health insurance of approximately 1.2 million. We want to grow that as a district. We want to grow that to approximately 2.5 million directionally. Okay, that's not a hard and fast number, but that's what we're being told from our consultants. That's kind of their target for us. And they do this with many school districts. So that's their target for us, is approximately $2.5 million. We did not anticipate that we would be where we are even at the end of this year. We're doing better, I think, by a fairly significant margin from where we predicted us to be at the end of this year. We want to keep that momentum going. The process with health insurance, it's a smaller pool. We've been lucky with our claims so far this year. We haven't had any, but for one, we haven't had any real large claims. But that can change. Next year we could have 7. You just don't know. So that's why that balance needs to be there. So we need to grow that, but we need to grow it responsibly. We don't want, the plan never was to get there in 2 years. So we want to grow it responsibly, and in working with our consultant and working with the committee, we ran some different numbers, anywhere from 4 to 8, 10%, and we really felt that the best number to land on was, we were bouncing back and forth between 6 and 7. We got another month of claims back. Again, it was good news again. So then we made the recommendation to go ahead with 6%.
And the recommendation was unanimous for the 6% from the approximately 9-member committee, which is very good. So Scott and I are both recommending your approval.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And the dental insurance. Anybody want to make the motion to increase that by 0%?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
I will second that, and then I can comment on that a little bit as well. So the dental insurance is a much more cut and dried piece of insurance. It's a much smaller amount. So they had us targeted at about 95%, I believe it was. We're coming in, we're actually only running our claims in the 80th percentile right now. Now that can change with the group that we have. Most people are going to the dentist twice a year, so typically you kind of see two bubbles of, oh, we have a little bit higher claims here because that's when the majority of the people are going. But thus far, it's been, our claims experience has been very, very positive. So much so that there's really not a need for an increase. Everything is staying flat with Medica. So the 0% was, again, a unanimous recommendation.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And the next one, a motion to accept the fixed fee bid for a 12% decrease for the next school year. What is the fixed fee bid? Before we get a motion.
The
Yeah.
biggest part of it is the stop loss fee, and that's why there's a decrease. If you have a high case, what stop loss does is it pays the amount over 200,000. That doesn't come out of your pool. And because we've had a good record, then our stop loss fee went down.
Right. So the stop loss fee is actually calculated not only on our claims experience, but the claims experience that the reinsurer is experiencing. So when we first entered self-funded, we don't have a
We didn't
claims
know, yeah.
experience, so they're going to hedge their bet, and our premium is going to be higher. Well, now that we have, since August, July, August of last year, we've been self-funded, so we have 7 or 8 months of claims history, and it was enough for them to drop that down. So that was a significant chunk of money.
Anybody want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion. Second?
Just one quick question. When we first started looking at self-funded insurance, the admonition by the people running it was always to keep our eyes on the claims. And I know you've talked about claims, but we've also used the number 80% of the year, or it's less than 80% of the year so far, right?
Right, we have a limited claims history, but we
Yeah.
meet on a monthly basis. We get updated claims history on a monthly breakout from our administrator.
Yep.
So we are keeping a very, very close eye on those claims. And just the fixed fee bid from Preferred One, I don't understand, Kim, maybe you could comment on this a bit more as to what the process was. We had to go out and open it up for bids again to the
Right.
different
Part of it was
companies.
because of that HITA legislation
Right.
bill. But the other part of it is, like the TPA, that's the third-party administrator, we got a 3-year cap on that. So that wasn't
Right.
bid out. I mean, another insurance could have bid lower on it, but that didn't happen. The stop loss, you want to bid out every year. But that's where any of the fees, they'll bid out every year just to make sure that we're getting the cheapest.
And
So-
if we have a year where we're hit hard by a lot of
Right.
claims,
Well,
then our
and-
stop loss is gonna go
And
up.
you have to remember that the stop loss is there to help minimize, it's a reinsurance, okay?
It's the
We,
backstop.
we are insuring up to a claim level of $200,000 per claim. Now, if you have 7 of those, that's very, very significant, but that's why we have that balance built up. That, over time, that should equalize as you go ahead.
Any additional discussion, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Final staff seniority list available to view on the website.
And we put this out there for all of our staff to see, and it's their responsibility to correct us if we're wrong, and there's very few changes from year to year, so we're recommending your approval.
I'll make the motion for approval.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve the revised calendar for the 2015-2016 school year, which was in the packet.
And again, Mike's definitely the guru on, on this, and he's the one that knows the calendar inside and out, and of course Deanna then has to make some of the changes as well, but correct me if I'm wrong, Deanna, just some few minor changes basically on when elementary conferences were gonna be, and that came through elementary teacher committees, feeling that the conferences would be best moved a little bit, so some minor changes to the calendar. Overall, we still always have to meet the minimum number of student contact days, the minimum number of teacher workshop days, and we adjust that accordingly, so we're recommending your approval.
I did have a question. In December 2015, what is the different color on December 23rd? Okay.
This is an
Okay.
internal
All
calendar, so
right.
it doesn't go to the
Okay.
public, but it
Okay,
shows where the.
but that
calendars
is
are.
part of the winter break then,
Yeah.
so,
Now, this year for a change at the elementary and middle school level, did we have only evening conferences for one of the times through? I thought we
For this
were-
current year?
Yeah. And was there any pushback is what I'm wondering.
For elementary?
I thought we only had evening conferences for the,
I don't remember on that, but it really wasn't, you know, Mike might say that at the committee level, they have discussion on that, and I don't hear that, but more the pushback was the timing of when the conferences were held. during-
versus the other sites?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So I'm just gonna, this is a general statement, and I appreciate you telling me what was different, because I couldn't figure out what was different. I was like looking through the dates. I have the same reservations about the 2015 calendar, 15, 16, and 16, 17, which is we're going back up to 3 early release days from, been at 2 early release days, which is down from quite a few more previously. And I do not want us to continue on that trend. I would love to see us at 0.
The
I
one
mean, I can
early release
appreciate.
day,
So
the last day of
it's
school.
I know,
This
Well,
year,
I
we're
know.
getting out a whole day earlier.
right,
I
right,
mean, it's still the same number of
It's-
days, but
yeah,
172.
yeah. Yeah, and I see that, and I would still love us to be at 0.
Well, the only problem from the other side, and you know this, I think, is that the pushback is for staff development
Yep.
to be meaningful. I mean, we put so many demands on.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we should be making those full contact days. I would be comfortable making them full staff development days. I would rather us working full blocks of day rather than partial blocks a day. I appreciate that we need to create space for staff development, and that needs to be a priority. I just feel like I've yet to hear anybody, staff or parent, say to me, I love early release days, they're the most effective days, they're the easiest for me to manage. I really wish we could just have a few more of those, those are just really fabulous. I have never had anybody approach me with that, and then they'd be happy to have that conversation. But I always hear the opposite.
Yeah, and the
And my
committee,
experience is the opposite, which is they're just so difficult.
Yeah, certainly from
From
the
a
parent.
family's perspective
From
and
parent
the
family
staff
perspective, early release days are.
A challenge.
Yeah, I've had 100% negative feedback on those.
and that's why this committee reflected that from previous discussions as far as we've gotten rid of quite a few
I
of
know we've
those.
gone down,
Yeah.
and I can appreciate the one as the least visible, but
Yep, point well
I'm
taken.
uncomfortable with going out, even though.
Well, you'll be happy to know that the 16-17 calendar has 300.
I know,
as
and I've
well.
got them both open, and that was my initial response to both of them, and that was my response when the 15-16 draft, first one came out too. I just can't get behind us. I want 0 on this.
So,
But,
moving to the 15-16 revised calendar, are there any other comments or questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna oppose on the 16-17, I'll just preview, I'll just drip that. Because I mean, I already approved on the 15-16 the first time it came by, but
Okay. Next up then, we look at.
Well, even with that lead,
I know.
I'm gonna ask Kyle to make a motion. No,
The
ask-
next
Somebody
item
make a
on
motion
the,
on 16-17.
the next
Well,
item on
right.
the agenda is for the
We can get different
16-17
opinions.
calendar.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
And I have sat on the calendar committee, and I can say that it represents a group of people who are parents and teachers and administrators, and they come into that room with 30 different things that they're trying to accomplish, and somehow or another they work through it and they do a really good job. Even with that caveat, and I've had, 3 kids that have gone through, I've got 2 kids coming up to go through, and I personally am still in favor of the balance and having a couple of early release days and finding a way to work through those, but.
Okay.
Do we have somebody to make the motion on the 16-17?
It's been motion
Well,
and second, that was the
Any
conversation.
additional discussion?
I just wanted to say that I'm tempted to vote no, just because you're so right about the feedback we've been receiving. But I'm gonna end up voting yes, because that's such a terrible committee.
Oh, I don't disagree with you.
The beyond, and it's hard to,
And karma should be that I end up on it in the future. That would only be fair.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to, even though I'm gonna be voting yes, I support what you're saying.
Is June 12th a placeholder for the teacher contract, or what is that?
June
June
16,
12th is-
17?
Yeah,
It's another one of
it's
those.
not counted as one of the.
It's a count.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yeah,
so that's
if you look
counted
at the
too,
It's
little,
got this kind of weird shape.
in the red?
Yeah,
Well,
it's a different shade. It's the brown. It's between evening
If you
conferences
kind of look
and
at the,
non-school.
under the key, it kind of gives you
Yeah.
a,
To get them to the 184?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
the
they
color
work the
doesn't
night
match.
conferences, so then the comp days.
And then they move that comp date to the end of the calendar.
Sometimes they're both at the end of the calendar, sometimes we
Okay.
build one into the middle of the calendar.
Got it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Nope.
Shade.
Motion
Aye,
passes
opposed.
with 1 nay. And next up, we have a number of resignations.
I'll make the motion for the resignation of the following employees.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, a motion to approve 3 leaves.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And next up, a motion to approve the retirement of some individuals.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Does this mean that Tim Collins has a private bathroom
Almost, but David.
now? Oh, that's right.
Now we
that's
got
right.
David.
Okay, so it's not private.
It is, you are surprised when you go in there and somebody else is in there, I will say that.
I think my predecessors have always pointed out, including the most recent, that when we see something like this, we're looking at people with a lot of years of service, and contributed a lot to a lot of students and to the district, and, gosh, I remember Bob, when we recognized him at that, how emotional he was
Oh,
at that
yes.
too, so, many thanks to those people. Any discussion? Do we have a, did I get the motion? Any second?
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up, a motion to approve a termination.
And as I said in private to you as a board member, some of the rationale for that termination. So I'm asking for your approval.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And a motion to approve 4 individuals in the district, employment of 4 individuals.
I'll make
in
the
district.
motion.
I will second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have some other business and meeting dates. I would add to that we have a meet and confer at 4:30 on the 31st at McCullough of March.
31st of March,
Yep.
just next week.
And who sits on that committee with the board, of the board member? Oh, there it is. I don't know, who sits on
It's
that
not on
committee?
it, yeah, no,
Dan Mead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Yep, move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Next time we get to find out about elementary, all the, I've seen a lot of that.
We asked
Yeah.
for it at
It's
the.
kind of fascinating.
That's fine.
Because they do it.
What's that?
The kids do it.
Yeah, I know.
I was gonna do both. Are we done?
Where did you go over spring break?
I think we did pizza the very.
Oh, was it?